Okay, 2, 1, 2. Yeah.
You're going to be here all the time?
I'll be here a lot.
Oh, I just want to make sure if something goes
Oh,
wrong.
once it,
Once
you
it-
know,
okay.
once it's, you know,
Okay,
it gets
okay,
started.
okay. And I need do I need to be wired up?
Yeah, there's the microphones right here.
People hear me? Yeah, I'd rather.
2, 1, 2. Yep.
What's this about? I want mine.
Good morning, everybody. Oh no! All right, that makes it too scary. Good morning, everybody. I'm David Rabb. I am Executive Vice President of the Touro College University System, and I am very pleased to be the executive sponsor of Project Enterprise. I'm very pleased to be here today as well, and I'm very pleased that you've all come to hear this presentation and have this discussion. I want it to be a discussion, and that's why I'm sitting here. I'm not standing behind a podium. I want this to be informal. I'm happy to take questions throughout the presentation, and the only caveat is that we really have only till 11 o'clock, and I would like to try and get through the whole presentation. But other than that, this is as much back and forth as you'd like. I want to also say, many of you may not realize, I'm also an employee of New York Medical College. I'm an executive in the office of the president of New York Medical College. And what probably most of you don't know or may not remember is that I was actually the first Touro person to land on the campus a year and a half before the transaction took place, which is actually, believe it or not, 5 years ago. I came to New York Medical College 5 years ago, and I actually have been coming since the transaction about at an average of once a week to be here, to participate in the senior leadership meetings, to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening here, and also to help out and to be engaged as I can. And when I came, I was the first person to come from Touro to be here because my role was to be what we called the transition director, someone to help coordinate bringing New York Medical College from the Archdiocese into the Touro system. And I remember when I first got here, there were like mixed feelings. There was a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement. This was a good thing. Most people felt, not everybody, but most people felt it was a good thing to be joining the Touro system. But what does it mean? What exactly does it mean for us? What does it mean for New York Medical College? What does it mean for me personally? And through a lot of teamwork, a lot of discussion, a lot of planning, I think we addressed a lot of those concerns, most of the concerns, and 6 months after the transaction, Middle States came here and met with a lot of folks, and the word that they heard most often, that they reported back to us, was seamless. That we somehow, through working together, we got it all done, and we got it all done right. So I'm here to talk about Project Enterprise. We've had some communications from Dr. Kadish, from me at the beginning of the project, and then starting in January, we had a newsletter. We've started a monthly newsletter. The most recent edition came out at the end of last week. And now we felt it would be a good time to have a face-to-face town hall meeting to talk it through, to kind of go back a little bit through the background, to talk through some of the plans, and to talk through where we are right now. So with that, let me start. And again, I'm happy to take questions as we go along. Let's see if this works. Yes, it does. Okay. So first of all, I just want to make a general statement that the entire system, including New York Medical College, is totally committed to this project. Everybody sees significant benefit, including the administration of New York Medical College. Everybody sees this as a top priority project. And the board of trustees of both Touro and New York Medical College are fully supportive and aware of this project. This is something that's going to be good for the system. It's going to be good for Touro. It's going to be good for New York Medical College. And that's what I hope to part of what I want to show as we go through the presentation. I forget that this doesn't change that. What are some of the key objectives of this project? We want to get to a point where the entire Touro system has a state-of-the-art integrated set of administrative systems. Today, as we'll talk through a little bit on the following slide or two, both New York Medical College has a separate general ledger system, has a separate student and HR system has a separate financial aid system, that they are made to talk to each other, but they're not totally integrated. And it has learning management systems that are also kind of separate. Touro also has a separate general ledger system, a separate student system, and a separate financial aid system, and they don't talk to each other so well. They do talk to each other. Of course, we're all operating, we're all working, but they're not talking to each other as if they're part of one integrated system. And so what we want to do is put in place an integrated set of administrative systems that talk to each other, so that when a student registers, it automatically hits their account that David Rabb now owes another $5,000 for these 2 courses they just registered for, and that now pops into financial aid, because now that makes me more qualified for financial aid. I can get more financial aid. And oh, by the way, since I just registered, it just went into the learning management system, and I can immediately go into that learning management system and start doing my homework, start doing my reading, start doing my homework. That's how we want the system to work. We want it to be, I don't want to say the word paperless because that's always a bad word to say, but we would like to automate the flow of information and workflows in the background. If a student applies to New York Medical College, that the background information flows from one person to the other person. If you want to purchase, although you are doing that today here at New York Medical College, but purchasing should flow back and forth. HR, PAFs, personal action forms, should flow to the right person automatically behind, no paper, no, just electronically. I want to hire someone, here's the information, it goes to whoever needs to authorize it, goes to whoever needs to authorize it further, and so on and so forth. All in the background, all done automatically. You can't do that unless you have a totally integrated state-of-the-art system, and that's what we're trying to get to. We want to have an integrated portal with a single sign-on, which means that we all come in through the same top-level portal. There will be place for each school to stand out on its own within the portal, but everybody comes in at the same place with a single sign-on. You sign on to the portal, you then have access to every system that you need to access at any administrative system that you need to access at New York Medical College. You'll be able to access, you won't have to sign in again to anything else. We want a holistic chart of accounts. Today the situation is as follows. Touro, New York Medical College became part of the Touro system in May of 2011. Every year, well, the accounting, each school has done their accounting differently. And at the end of every fiscal year, Touro has had to wait for New York Medical College to finish its accounting and get it audited. And then it kind of, I'm simplifying, and then Bonnie's going to look at me, what's he saying? and George. It has to kind of be manipulated and put into a format, or manipulated in advance, whatever, to be put into the Touro format, so that, because Touro has to report the financials of the entire system. So it has to, the New York Medical College data has to be rolled up. We use in 2 different charts of accounts, and it's very hard to compare apples to apples. It's very hard to roll in. It's very hard for the president of the Touro system to say, how are we doing financially today? That's why we need a single chart of accounts, and that's what we hopefully will be going to. We want the president of Touro and New York Medical College, same person, and the whole institution, in fact, has committed to do things in a streamlined and consistent way across the system. There will be variations. Sometimes regulators, accreditors require variations, or sometimes what is done in New York State doesn't work for what is done in Nevada or what is done in California, so we will have variations. But the going-in assumption, which was more or less validated by what I'll tell you later, the going-in assumption is we really can do things the same way. Yes, we've been doing things differently. Various schools have been doing things differently, and by the way, Touro is, even without New York Medical College, is a pretty broad institution. We have a campus in California, campus in Nevada. We have various campuses around New York City area. We have a law school. And over time, just the way Touro evolved, people were doing things differently. The going-in assumption here is we're going to do things the same. And it wasn't a willy-nilly decision. It was done for two reasons. First of all, to implement a new ERP system, which is what we are doing, enterprise resource planning, or the administrative systems. It is much more cost-effective to implement one way of doing things than to implement 10 ways of doing the same thing. And so for cost reasons, to keep the cost down of implementation and to keep the time frame down. It also takes a long time to implement different ways of doing the same thing. So to keep the cost down, to keep the time frame down, and to keep the ongoing maintenance cost down. If you program something to do something differently, 10 different ways, when the vendor comes out with a new version of the software, guess what? You have to reprogram it to do the new software 10 different ways. And so that is one main reason for going to consistent and practices. And of course we want to put in, we would like to put in state-of-the-art practices, which I think we've succeeded in doing, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But also doing things the same way simplifies management. Just to make things, just to take a simple example, registrar function has various peaks and valleys at various schools. They have different schedules, they have different timelines. If everyone is doing things the same way across the system, we can take people from one part of the system and help them and have them come in to kind of help in peak periods at another part of the system, because their learning curve is very small because people are doing things a similar way. That's part of the advantage of doing things the same way. It also makes managing it across the system much simpler. And so that is really, so that's why, those are the reasons why the decision was made to do things in a common way across the system. Another thing that we're trying to accomplish through this system is what at Touro we've been calling non-stop student services. Everybody talks about one-stop shopping. That's a common terminology. But Touro has actually applied for a patent or a trademark, service mark, we haven't decided exactly what yet, on the term non-stop. We would like students to be able, at whatever time of the day they want, wherever they want, and just about from whatever device they want, to do whatever they need to do on the administrative side, whether it's looking up a grade, whether it's registering for a course, whether it's paying their bills, whether it's applying for financial aid, whether it's receiving financial aid, whether it's checking their grade, whether it's requesting a transcript, whatever they want, whenever they want, from their mobile device, from their computer at home in their jammies. And that's really the objective, and this system will enable us to do that, because we want the students to be able to focus on their studies and enjoy their life. And we don't want them to have to waste time standing in line. We don't want them to have to waste time in the administrative side of things. There will be enhanced service to employees as well. The most recent newsletter talked about some of those things. At New York Medical College, probably the one that stands out most in my mind, at least, will be the electronic timesheets that will be supported by the new system. The electronic PAFs, I think, would also be a big advantage for everybody, but also here at New York Medical College. And so that's a part of the objective. We're going to be integrating Blackboard into this, into the Banner system. Banner is able to integrate fully with Blackboard. So what I described before of registering for a course and immediately being able to go and not have to even sign on again, but just in a different little part of the portal, just to go to that course and begin actually working, that will be instantaneous. So we'll be integrating Blackboard into Banner. It'll have enhanced advisement capabilities. Part of the software that we're buying is called DegreeWorks. What that does is help students see, even day one, here's what I want to study speech-language pathology. Here's what I'm going to have to do. Day one, as I'm registering today, first time, here's what I'm going to have to do to get from today to graduation. Here are the courses I'm going to have to take. Here are my requirements, all built into the system. And obviously for advisors, that will be helpful as well, to be able to look to see what every student needs and how they're doing. And these will be built into the system, and hopefully we'll get some enhanced reporting tools out of this as well. So those are pretty much the key objectives of the system, of why we're doing this. The scope, I'll just go through this quickly. Basically, we're replacing all of our administrative systems and the portal, and we're doing this across all of Touro, all campuses, including our California, our law school, Nevada, and New York Medical College. Just a quick word on the selection process. We actually started on this project about a little bit over a year ago. And the first thing we did was we selected an outside consulting firm to help us select a package that met our needs. We had a selection committee. We had over 100 advisors throughout the Touro system. The project did evolve a little bit because at first we were focused on the biggest point of pain in the entire system was the Touro student system. But as we got into it, we saw that we really needed to replace the financial systems as well, and therefore we need to replace the whole thing. And so we had, as I said, about 100 people throughout the Touro system at different points in time, looking at at the proposals we were getting, at the presentations we were getting from vendors. We did go out for proposals. We got 3 proposals from vendors, and we had presentations from them. And at the end of the day, we selected Banner by Lucian. It is a state-of-the-art system. It incorporates best practices into it. It is sufficiently robust to handle Touro's needs, and it is being used by 1,500 educational institutions. And educational institutions are Lucian's sole market, as opposed to a lot of other vendors, and we like that. They are upgrading their technology, as are other vendors that we looked at, and we have in our agreement with them that we will benefit from those upgrades in technology as they change. They're going to be changing some of their underlying database architecture, and that will basically, we will be getting that as they do that, or shortly after they do that. This is a very critical slide, because this tells exactly what we're doing. And maybe for this I will stand up. Try not to get any of the wires crossed here. This is the overall timeline for the project. It was a very compressed project by design, again, in part because simply for cost reasons, to try and do it most cost effectively. I don't know, I hope you can read it. Okay, oh, much better. Great, thank you. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Here was August of last year when we started planning, and we started what we call business process review. As I said, we wanted to make sure one of the objectives was that we would be doing things the same way across the system. So what we started was looking at each of the functions, and I'll show you exactly I'll show you how we did it later. But basically, we looked at all the functions, all the administrative functions: finance, financial aid, general ledger, HR, payroll, registration, admissions, transcript generation, et cetera, We had teams from across, in each area, we had teams from across the Touro system, and they sat down and they started by saying, we did the as-is. Here's how we do it here today. Here's how we do it in New York Medical College today. Here's how we do this in California today. Here's how we do this in Nevada today. And they went through step by step, everybody saying, here's how we do it today. And then they started the tough part. They started to figure out, okay, how would we love this to be done across the board? And it wasn't always easy, and we haven't reached finality in all exact places, but I would say for the most part, and it's amazing, the teams have come up with processes and procedures that work across the system. And that was the objective, and I think we've come pretty close to accomplishing that. So that actually, it says that this is the original timeline, so I'm being very open and honest here. if that was supposed to end the end of December, it actually took into the middle of February to get it done, but it's done. Then I want to call your attention to the green. General ledger purchasing grants and fixed assets. This is supposed to be coming in as of July 1st. Replacing your financial systems, it's best to do that at the beginning, at the very beginning of the fiscal year. The New York Medical College and the rest of Touro is July 1st. So they have been working very hard on defining, again, what needs to be done in terms of process and procedure, but also actually beginning to configure the system, to be able to actually, the actual streams that people are going to be using, the actual chart of accounts, which is not final yet, but we're getting very close. Believe it or not, it looks like we will have a very nice, clean, consistent chart of accounts across the whole Touro system, including New York Medical College. Won't be exact, won't be perfect, and it wasn't intended to be exactly perfect, but enough to be able to say, well, we'll do speech, we're not going to pathology here, we do it there, we do it there, we do it there. Let's have them all kind of have this, let's have them all in the same level in the, in the accounting chart. We've defined our, what they call object codes, or expense codes, expense type codes, in a fairly consistent way. I think there's still some exceptions, still a little work to do, and George and Bonnie have been extremely helpful in what I've just been talking about. Bonnie on the chart of accounts, and George on the chart of accounts, and I think we're really getting very close, and I'm thrilled. I mean, it's because getting to a point where everybody has been doing things historically differently for many, many, many years, and saying, okay, but here's how we can do it, and we can all do it the same way. To me, that's very exciting. Maybe I'm weird, getting excited about such things, but to me, that's very exciting when we start doing things the same way. Okay, so this is going in July 1st, and then afterwards, we are going to be putting in the budgeting system and a travel and expense system to be put in later. So the budgeting will be for the following year. We have acquired the budgeting module from Banner, but we are still also investigating whether that still really is the best solution. And we're doing that in another place also. But we will be having a budgeting system in place. That's when we're going to be implementing budgeting. Okay, the next major milestone is HR, payroll, and position control. HR and payroll, the best time to replace an HR payroll system is January 1, because you want to produce your what am I just filing with my W-2s, right? You want to be able to have clean W-2s coming off of a single system. And so that's coming in. Oops, that's coming in January 1st. Well, let me just go back for a second to finance in case this is of interest. So the way it's going to work, since you don't close your books till later in the year, on July 1st, when we cut over to the new finance system, we will continue using the current fundware system here until we close the books for this year. But any new transactions for the 15-16 year are going to go into Banner. Again, that's generalities, but that's kind of how it's going to work. Okay, so HR, payroll, and position control are going to be going in January 1st. We have a number of issues that have arisen about how to do certain things. We're working on them. And we have a great team. Terry Haviland here represents and others who will go through our training, but are doing a great job in trying to identify the issues and help work them out. And I think we're on track there. And then on the student side, we have a phased-in process here. We're hoping to have everything done by the end of March of next year. So because New York Medical College, I think the School of Health Science starts enrolling in April. for the summer, and Touro starts enrolling. So we want to try and have that all done by April. Flexible registration is more for some of the online courses and online programs, not online courses, and so that's the goal there. So we're working already on admissions and recruitment and all these things. We have the teams working very hard now, moving forward to try and we finished again the business process review, and now they're starting to actually start to configure to play with configuring the system. On admissions, again, here too we acquired Banner's admission system, but I know that two of the schools here are using Hobson Supply Yourself. Touro also currently uses Hobson Supply Yourself. The medical school uses an automated central application system. We are looking at possibly staying with Hobson's. It's supposed to be public, but there's no reason you shouldn't know. We are looking at possibly staying with Hobson's because it really does a lot of what we need, what everybody needs, but we're looking at possibly to see whether we can go onto one instance of it or do something in common using Hobson's and not have to go to Banner. Okay, so that's kind of the application side. And then we have some tools here that we're going to be implementing primarily the second year. Document management, that's what I talked about, the workflow going and the workflow going in the background of data moving, being able to move to whoever it needs to move to. We're going to be putting in a new portal. New York Touro needs to replace its portal quickly. When we go live with finance, we may not have the portal up. We probably won't have the portal up, but it's not really needed because the finance staff will just go straight into Banner there. But by the end of the year, when we're going live with HR, that's when we hope to have the portal up and running for everybody, for all employees and staff. And then later, when students start accessing the portal, we'll have the portal available to everybody. What else is it? Some mobile data warehouse for reporting and workflow goes together with document management. Document management also helps in sending mail out to different people based on what their status is in the Banner system. I don't think we need to go into that now, but that's something that we're going to be getting. And so this is pretty much where we are in the timeline. It's pretty much what's going on. Any questions? Good question. Very good question. And Sandy and I and the team, this is probably one of the most discussed questions throughout the whole project. We decided that that no, we are not going to go backwards in technology. Touro does not have an automated purchasing system. New York Medical College does. New York Medical College will stay on the automated Coupa. We are going to do some things that will make it work. We'll start using Coupa in the same way that we're going to be purchasing at Touro, at the rest of the Touro system. So the processes will be the same, but the system will be different. And so we're going to be putting in, one of the things we're going to be integrating, I don't want integrating is a strong word, interfacing Coupa with Banner. So we're going to take the budget data with the new chart of accounts from Banner, download it into Coupa, people do their purchasing, and then we'll do the purchase request, and then the encumbrances will go back into Banner. So no. So the short answer is no. Coupa will stay independent. We actually are going to combine vendor lists because as an institution you get much bigger bang for your buck if you're using the same vendors. So we worked out a way for for New York Medical College and Touro to first of all, to streamline the existing vendor list, and in the future decide together how to add a vendor. If someone wants to add a vendor, there'll be a process for both sides to kind of talk about it and say, well, Staples, we're using Staples, they can do that. Why should we add vendor X? and then there will be a discussion on that, and then a decision will be made. Good question. Anybody else? All right. This is a massive effort, as you probably have experienced and felt going on around you. I'm going to start from the bottom because that's where really most of the work is going on, and really we're counting on them, these folks, to actually make this happen. So we have what we call implementation teams by functional area. You see the various functional areas here. Each team has representatives from across the Touro system. We had to, it's been a challenge to have as broad a representation as possible while keeping teams as compact as possible in order to actually get work done and to get people's schedules together. And these teams, and I'll show you who was on the New York Medical College, who from New York Medical College is on each team. But these teams have been meeting literally at least 3 days a week, every other week, probably more, to learn to do the business process review at first, and now to actually learn Banner to start implementing it. There are about 90 people on these teams, on the entire implementation team. We have a core team. Right, and that core team consists of the leader of each of the implementation teams, the project managers, who I'll talk about in a second, and the communications lead. We have a communications team. Jennifer Reichert is on the team over there, and Jim Nagorski over here is the Touro communication team leader. They are on the core team. The core team meets every week for a few hours a week and emails in between to make sure that all these teams are working in unison, so that a decision made here in financial aid, this financial aid implementation team, does not contradict, a decision that the student accounts team made. So the core team is kind of the coordinating team that keeps all these things moving together. Aside from these actual implementation teams, these functional implementation teams, we have some technical teams. We have a portal team that's actually working on designing the portal. We don't have a mobile team just yet, but we will when time comes. Next year is when we start working on mobile. We have data conversion teams. We have a reporting team that's beginning to define all the reports that we need. Many of you may have gotten a request a number of months ago saying, well, what reports do you get today? What shadow databases do you have today? This team is the one that's kind of going through it all and trying to come up with, okay, based on everything we're pulling together, here's what reports it looks like the system needs to produce and we need to produce. On top of this, we have 3 project managers. The overall project manager her name is Marie Cariana. She is from Touro, and she has major project management experience. She's done ERP implementations before. She is currently leading the entire project. We have an Ellucian project manager who's making sure that Ellucian does everything it needs to do. And we have an advisor from CampusWorks who advises us on the whole selection process and actually help us structure the project. They're advising us on using their experience and how to do these things to make sure that we're doing the right thing. On top of that is a steering committee of executives from around, and senior management from around the whole system, and I'll show you the names in a minute. All policy changes and all major decisions about how to proceed and where to how to address certain issues comes to the steering committee, who consults obviously with senior leadership, like Dr. Halpern and others, Dr. Kadish and others on certain matters, and also consults with various advisory groups at appropriate times. Compliance, general counsel, chief information security officer, internal auditor, and at the right time we're also going to talk to students and faculty, primarily as we start designing the portal, as soon as we start designing the applications and have what to show, we will have students and faculty get involved as well. I'm the executive sponsor and I report to Dr. Kadish. The steering committee, again, we tried to have it representative yet compact to be effective. Sandy Shivers, who you all know, I'm sure you all know, is both representing New York Medical College and the help on the information technology side of things. And actually, she's just been wonderful at being the point person for New York Medical College on this project and kind of lead, as you probably know, cheering on the troops and really helping us out tremendously for everything having to do with New York Medical College. I won't go into all the names because they're probably not meaningful to you, but again, we have the various functions in various geographic areas on this committee to try and make sure we have high enough level and broad enough view of things while, again, being compact. Okay. Now, on the implementation teams, we have a lot of New York Medical College representatives. Some of these people that you'll see, whose names you'll see, appear will serve on multiple teams, which makes their work even more challenging. I actually don't know everyone, so but I would like actually to meet everyone right now if I can. If you're in the room, Valerie, are you here? No. Veronica? No. No, it's okay. That's good. That means they know what's going on. They don't need this. Wilson? Wilson, hi. Nice to meet you. Okay, so he's on the recruiting and admissions team. Tanya Hodges? This is great. Veronica's not here. Louise? Okay.
He's at another meeting. That's this.
Yeah, people do have other work to do. That's good. Okay. Jennifer, oh, hi, Jennifer. How are you doing? So Jennifer is also a co-leader of this team. So she's working together with the Touro registrar. They are co-leading the team. So Jennifer's also on the core team. So, and she's been putting in a lot of hours, I know, to do this. And I think it's moving along again nicely. Is Irene here?
She just left to go.
Okay, they'll go do real work. Is Ben? Okay. Okay, Tony's here. I know Tony. There's Tony Sozo. He is the co-lead of the financial aid team. And Diane, is Diane here? Hi, Diane. I'm the students accounts receivable. George Nessler, over there. And general ledgers, budgets, and grants. Bonnie, over there. Jeanette, not here. And Steve Pickles, I don't think I saw him. Okay, purchasing, Sandy Shivers, Steve Piccolo, George Nessler, payroll, Alex, are you here? Alex, yes. I knew the face, I didn't remember your name. Okay, good. And Chao Chi Tian. What? He's there. He's got nothing else. Really, let's kidding. Really, let's kidding. Okay, HR Terry. She's a co-leader of the HR team. Tom, I saw Tom before. Tom. And Chao Chi. Okay. David Bueller is there you are, is Director of Technology, Co-Director of Technology. Jennifer, we pointed out, is on communications. Luis is on the reporting team. And the Jennifer, David, and Luis are on the portal team. And again, these are each one of these is a hardworking team. Usually, not all of them, but most of certainly the implementation teams are meeting at least every week for 3 solid days a week. And it's quite demanding. So what's going to make this work? And what has made this work so far? I think, let me tell you that I think we really are on schedule. There are some questions. There are things that we have to jump in and help kind of push along and make it work a little bit better. But I have at this point, I sleep at night, not too much, but I sleep at night feeling that we're going to get there. And I think these are some of the requirements for making this work. And these are things that we have stuck to. We are not going to customize the system, except, again, where regular accreditation-wise or state-wise we have to. But then again, Banner runs in all the states and basically is built to support whatever needs to be done on the accreditation and regulatory side. The commitment to do things similarly across the system, the commitment to make our resources available to achieve an aggressive timeline. There are people here in the room, every name that was on that list, are people who are really going above and beyond and spending a lot of time working on banner while doing their day job at the same time. And I can't say enough of appreciation for what everybody has done. And we try to do some things every once in a while to show appreciation, but it's not enough. They just go above and beyond, and they're pure. Everyone is a real professional and really making this happen. And we know that their colleagues are backfilling and picking up the burden, picking up the job to help the implementation team members do play their role on the team. And we recognize that as well, and we really appreciate that. Information gathering decisions have to be made quickly. I like to be very methodical about decision making and do fact finding and so on and so forth, but here we are really moving very quickly, and sometimes we have to make very quick decisions because with these tight time frames, we don't have as much time to study a lot of things as we typically do. And so we have to kind of do as best we can and make the best decision we can and then move on. And this is probably less already, but certain other projects may be delayed. We started this project, we made an inventory. What are all the projects going on around the Touro system, aside from this? And we prioritized and said, okay, you can finish that because that's going to be finished soon, but this goes on hold. This goes on hold. This continues. And one of the things that obviously does continue, we are cognizant of a number of other concurrent top priority projects, including LCD preparation. You know, New York Medical College School of Medicine is really preparing for this, and we worked with the folks at the medical college, at the medical school, to make sure that our peaks are kind of reporting our peaks with their values to the extent we can. But again, everybody is working hard. We know that everybody is running hard. Touro also has some major projects going on. We're moving parts of our headquarters, and we're going to Middle States accreditation visit in 2 months, and we've been preparing intensively for that as well, and a number of other projects. So we're just trying to keep pushing as best as we can. We know that people are really working hard. We know, and we know, we're getting understanding from people not directly involved who again have to backfill. And then the other thing we're going to ask, we're not there yet, but growing pains. We're going to go live, God willing, July 1st with finance. Will it work perfectly day one? I wouldn't bet on it. And I'm probably the most optimistic one on this project. But even I wouldn't bet it's going to go perfectly day one. Actually, my granddaughter is having a bat mitzvah 2 nights before in Israel, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to run back and be here because I'm not sure it's going to be 100% right. So but we beg in advance everyone's indulgence to help us get fine-tuned it as these things come up. Project status. So we have a detailed implementation plan schedule. There are probably 2,600 or 2,700 tasks on that, all sequenced, all tied one to the other. What comes first, what comes second, what's dependent on what. And we continue to update it as new activities are identified. We identify things, you try as hard as you can, and believe me, we push as hard as we could to try to think of everything that could possibly need to schedule and think about and get done. But then as you go through, you find, oh, we didn't think of that. Oh, we didn't think of that. Or, oh, we thought we had to do that, we really don't. Or we thought that was going to take 3 weeks, but it's only going to take 1 week. Or we thought it was going to take 3 weeks, it's really going to take 7 weeks. So we update it as we kind of go along, but we have it, we're tracking it, with it's a Microsoft project, so we are tracking things and that's part of what's helping us stay on schedule. As I said, we did the business process review, and I'll tell you, sitting on the steering committee, Sandy is there also, hearing the teams present their common way of doing things across all the functional areas that I showed before, to me it's breathtaking because it says that we really all can do things a similar way, and it's very encouraging. But part of what happened in the business process review is that we identified areas in order for things to work the same way. Touro may have needed to change a policy or two, and I literally mean one or two. I mean, it's not major. So far, it's not major set of policy changes. Or New York Medical College might need to change some policies, or both might need to change some policies. So those are bubbling up, and we are going to be moving those through the respective policy making and approval processes at New York Medical College and Touro. They are separate. We have separate board of trustees, and so that's something that we are working on. The chart of accounts, as I mentioned, is just about finalized. Banner configuration is started in test mode. We're actually starting to load data into Banner to start seeing how it looks. Data cleansing projects are underway. It's more of a Touro thing. We have old systems. Some of our data is not clean, and so we are working really hard to get them clean so that when we convert them into Banner, we're putting in clean data. But one of the parts of this data cleansing project is actually getting our vendor list the same. So, even though, say, take New York Medical College may call the vendor Staples, Touro may call it Staples Inc., but it's really the same vendor. It's really the same vendor. So we're going through project cleansing that to make sure that we decide, and it doesn't really matter which, so let's pick one, make sure we're talking about the same vendor. We're data migration planning and implementation is underway. Okay, so now we're getting to the point where we actually have to take Fundware and start moving it and mapping it into Banner. Fundware is basically, in the non-technical terms, is a file that contains a lot of data elements, and Banner is another file that contains a lot of data elements, and you've got to map one data element to the other. Name, Fundware the field name might be name, here it might be employee name. So you've got to map it, okay, it's going to go from here to there. And things, so we're going through that mapping process. And beginning the process of actually starting to pretend and play with moving the data over. July 1st for finance is it's 3 months plus 1 week. So we're a month and 3 months and a week and a half. So we're pretty close, and we're actually starting to do the actual moving the data into Banner. We've begun the portal design. As I said, that doesn't have to be until the end of the year, but we have to start moving very quickly on this. And once we have a framework and a beginning of look and feel, we will have staff and students focus groups to get their feedback on how the portal looks. And actually, once the system starts getting fleshed out, we will have focus groups also in terms of even fine-tuning the system. Training plans. So finance is going to be coming in July 1st. We want to make sure that everyone who needs to touch that finance system knows exactly how to use it. So we are almost in the process of finalizing the training plans, and probably the approach that we are going to be using, which was the contractual approach we have with Banner, is a train-the-trainer approach, which basically means they will come and train a subset of people who need to use the system, let's say 10 or 20 people, and those people are responsible to train the rest of the users. So we have a plan that basically lays out in draft form right now, okay, for each implementation area, who are the trainers and who all needs to be trained, and making sure that we have the trainers, enough trainers and the right trainers to train everybody who needs to be trained. We hope, the plan is still in draft, but I would expect that the training for the majority of the users will probably, for finance, will probably happen kind of the first half of June, late in the first half of June. We don't want to train too early because you wouldn't have what to work on. So probably around 2 or 3 weeks before actual implementation, there will be training on the system. And the same thing with the other systems as well. I encourage you to remain updated on the flow of the project. We have a monthly newsletter that comes out roughly the middle of the month. Next month, because of Passover, will probably be a little bit later. We're trying to pick the things that we think are most interesting and most relevant to people. However, if you want the newsletter to focus on something specific, then I would encourage you, or you have any other question, I would encourage you to use the Project Enterprise email address, enterprise@touro.edu. I think we have one here also?
It's,
All right, you use this, enterprise@touro.edu. Yeah, enterprise@touro.edu with any question you have about the project. Or if there's something you want in the newsletter or so on and so forth. But we also have a website, touro.edu/enterprise, that has a lot of, has a frequently asked questions. It has a lot of information about the project. I encourage you to go there first to try and find anything, and ask enterprise@touro.edu if you have any specific questions. And I am happy, if people want to have further conversation or further issues or things that you don't want to raise here but want to raise privately, that's how to contact me, and I'll be happy to set up a time to talk or meet or email or whatever to answer whatever questions you have. That's what I got. Are there any questions?
I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but once this becomes successful operation, and I know that Touro was planning on opening school up here at some point or another, does that mean that students could then, I guess talking specifically about student affairs and the registrar's office and whatnot, will they be able to register on campus here for classes there, or is it still going to be maintained separateness? How's that going to work?
No, a student is not, when the student logs onto the portal, they're going to be recognized as who they are, what school they're at, and where they're logging in from. So if I'm a student at one of the Touro schools, I will not be able to register in a New York Medical College school, even if I'm physically here. It'll recognize, David Grab is a dental school student.
Right.
Okay. It'll let me register on whatever I need to in dental, but it won't let me register into anything else here.
So student affairs here, for example, that handles the students going on vacations and all that, would not be involved with the Touro dental school, for example? Or might there be a merge at some point?
A merge of what?
Well, just would we be supporting the dental school, for example, as well as them supporting the medical
So
school?
there's two different questions. One is the staff and helping out in both schools.
Right.
Okay, versus using the system. So the system is going to identify who I am and it will restrict what I can. Now, whether we have a collaborative student services area in some parts, maybe not admissions, because admissions has to be separate, but maybe financial aid. Financial aid is it's something that we can look at, but we haven't kind of thought that far down the road. But it is something that we can look at, because it may be a good way of doing it. Especially since everybody's going to do it the same way, and that's part of the effect.
You mentioned the middle school, that progress.
How's that progress? Okay, we've applied to CODA for accreditation. They had some questions which were really deep, don't quote me, exercises from the transcript from the video. We believe are fairly straightforward. We responded. We hope to have a site visit over the next few months, and then we'll play it by ear. We don't say anything until we actually hear from them, so get the permission from them. But things are moving forward nicely.
What is the total cost for the initiation of this project from each school? And is Touro bearing the entire cost, or is it
So the actual cost is confidential information because the vendor doesn't want the world to know what, how much sewer, how much sewer is paying for it. In typical fashion, we got a good price, and I think everybody just wants to kind of keep it there. Right now, Touro has kind of borne the cost. We're going to, certainly on the ongoing maintenance side, on the ongoing operational side, we'll probably have to figure out how to portion it, because we'll be removing systems from that you pay for today at North Medical College. So, but no, it's all going to be. Touro can't impose anything on New York Medical College. New York Medical College has its own board, its own fiduciary responsibility. And Touro College can't say, oh, New York Medical College, here's what you're going to pay. There is a cost. New York Medical College is benefiting. We'll figure out in a collaborative way how to do it the right way. And that, as I said, you can't force anything on New York Medical College, nor would we want to. So right now, and as a matter of fact, we haven't even, the topic hasn't even become an issue. We're doing it, Touro's covering it right now, and what happens down the road, we'll figure it out. Is that fair enough? Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you very much. And thank you for helping this project succeed. I really appreciate everybody's help.
is that they would be very diverse for annual salaries on the basis of 260 days of work. And we could, one is 261.
Do you know who my best friend is?
Oh, no.
She's not. She's probably a child or.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, actually, what's that? Yeah. No, I got the message.